Welcome everybody to the 25th gathering of the Surrey Muse held under virtual conditions. Today is Friday, May 27th, 2022. My name is Jovian Radheshwar, and I'll be your host for this evening. This evening's Surrey Muse features, first of all, a beautiful poster that's been designed by Konstantin Korobov entitled Memento Mori, parentheses, remember that you must die. It's a beautiful construction of fragile, fragmenting nature being eaten by death, but nonetheless beautiful. Thank you very much, Konstantin Korobov, for this lovely poster that you've given us today. #LifeBlooms. Thank you very much. Tonight's featured author is Jónína Kirton. Jónína is a Red River Métis Icelandic poet. She graduated from Simon Fraser University's Writers Studio in 2007, where she is now an instructor. Although she acknowledges and is thankful for the teachings offered through academic institutions, she leans heavily into what some term other ways of knowing. Her writing is often a weaving of body and land, as she firmly believes, until we care for women's bodies, we will not care for the earth. A late blooming poet, she was 61 when she received the 2016 Vancouver's Mayor's Award for an emerging artist in the literary arts category. Her second collection of poetry, An Honest Woman, was a finalist in the 2018 Dorothy Livesay Poetry Prize. Her third book, Standing in a River of Time, merges poetry and lyrical memoir about the intergenerational effects of colonization on a Métis family, and that was released in 2022. Please welcome everybody, Jónína Kirton.
Welcome to my home, everyone. I'd like to invite you to think of this time we have together as ceremony, and to this end I have lit a candle behind me, the red lantern there. And when I light that, I was thinking of all the murdered and missing Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit. A lot of my writing reflects on violence against women. I've also lit a candle for anyone around the world who's experiencing violence. We know there's so much of that going on right now, even in Buffalo yesterday, and my heart, Ukraine, and so many places around the world. Things have been happening. So I wanted to ask if we could begin with just a moment of silence. And if you pray, say a little prayer while that silence is happening. And if you don't pray, well, just think of it as sending good thoughts, healing, thoughts of peace to those around the world who need it right now. So much of this violence that we experience seems to have to do with land. And I want to acknowledge that I am in the unceded territory of the Kakite Nation and many other Coast Salish nations, including the Stolo Nation. That is New Westminster today, and that I'm not too far from the Fraser River. If I walk down the street and go up a little overpass over McBride, I can see the Fraser River, a place that my ancestors traveled as Métis voyageurs, working with the HBC Company or the Northwest Company and bringing people like Simon Fraser here. So I have a connection to these lands, although I am not from these lands, and I am very grateful to be here. It's been a big part of my healing. So as an author, I came to writing very late in life, so I was 50 when I took my first ever writing course and began to consider that maybe I could actually be a writer. I went to the writer's studio and began writing poetry, which had not been my first intention. My intention had been to write my memoir, and I felt I had a story to tell, and I certainly do. So at first I was telling it through poetry. And so I've had 3 books. One's called Page's Bone, Inca's Blood, and the next book was An Honest Woman, and the third book, which we'll be focusing on mainly today, was Standing in the River of Time. I think of these 3 books as a trilogy, actually. So sort of me putting my big toe into the water, the first book, and sort of feeling my way through how to tell my story in a good way. And as I was doing all of these books, I'm still unpacking my own ancestry and understanding of my ancestors' stories, which are woven in with mine. So I wanted to begin with an essay, a short essay that I wrote for the Capilano Review's 50th anniversary issue, the A to H. I got the word equity, and it might explain a little bit about why I write some of what I write and what the focus of my work has been. It begins with a quote from a wonderful book by Adrienne Marie Brown, Emergent Strategy, Shaping Change, Changing Worlds. She says, the patterns of the universe repeat at scale. There is a structural echo that suggests 2 things. 1, that there are shapes and patterns fundamental to our universe, and that what we practice at a small scale can reverberate to the largest scale. This really resonated with me for many reasons. One being that when I first began meditating, I kept hearing the words from smaller to larger, from larger to smaller, and later learned about quantum physics and this idea, which is partly what she's speaking to here. So that is a quote at the beginning of this essay on equity. I am but a small voice within the echoes of those asking for equity. My ways quiet, change closer in. What many do not know about me is that I have wealthy family members who would have welcomed me into the fold, but I chose sovereignty. Not just for myself, but for all who have been oppressed. I didn't want to be like my aunties, many of whom were stay-at-home wives married to rich men, or like my uncles who pursued money like hungry ghosts in need of sustenance. Raised poor and from a large family, many of them sought cover and comfort in luxury. They were white and I was not, but if I had agreed to go along, I would have been given access to their world. I have instead worked for change, more in the background than in front. I am but a small voice within the echoes of equity that are bouncing off the walls of institutions and workplaces. I am a believer in the power of humans to gather and to bring change, even if only one person at a time. I have always felt that change needs to happen in both small ways, close in, with our families, our communities, and in big ways within larger organizations, academic institutions, and governments. I have been guided by my ancestors to become one who practices at a small scale, knowing that it can reverberate to a large scale. They rarely speak to me, but instead provide inner urges felt in the body, much like the starlings must feel when they fly as one. When I take the time to lean in, to listen deeply, my body and their knowingness become a divining rod, offering me guidance and direction. I give thanks for their kind ways, for their care and attention, as the living have never been able to provide it. In fact, I was excluded for speaking up, for choosing differently. I give thanks for my Métis ancestors, their stubborn resistance to being beholden to anyone, and their desire that this freedom be extended to everyone. What I've been practicing lately, and you'll see in my book that I'm going to speak to more later, I have been practicing writing essay and having poetry and using the 2 together. And I'm really enjoying this. Some things need to be said through poetry. So this essay also has several poems with it. I'll read you the second poem. It's titled What We Can Become. Consider the implications of rising. Starlings in the sky, we could fly, wordlessly wheeling our way, learning to live on the edge, letting go into the unknown so that we might become as responsive as starlings, undulating in unison, sharing an in-breath, folding into a small ball, and with a shared out-breath simultaneously expanding, turning with no one leading. Together, shape-shifting, pulsating, singular, spectacular murmurations, rising, iridescent symbols of what is possible. Now, sometimes I do get discouraged. It's been very challenging to tell my story, to continue to advocate for others as I have. And I will read some of from my book, Standing in a River of Time, which was sort of my way of telling my story. It began with me thinking of myself at around 31 when my mother passed away, and I very shortly entered sobriety. So it focuses somewhat on my recovery, and I had no intentions of going backwards, but my wonderful substantive editor, Joanne Arnott, asked me some questions that brought some ruptures that ended up having me go back into my story and tell more of it. The challenge was how much to tell, what to leave in, and what to not have to take out. It was not easy. So I think I will start with, believe it or not, I didn't plan this. Are we cursed looking back? A common theme throughout my young life was feeling cursed. I didn't understand systemic barriers, colonization. I didn't understand what my family had been through or why my father was the way he was. He was Métis. Both of my grandparents were Métis. So I was really quite lost. So this, I'll give a trigger point warning, or pardon me, a trigger warning with this. It does contain some difficult details. And every chapter, this one being called Are We Cursed Looking Back, begins with an epigraph. Sorry. This epigraph is from Stephen Levine's book, Unattended Sorrow, Recovering from Loss and Reviving the Heart. He said, unresolved grief is like a low-grade fever. We can't find my brother. He has gone missing while canoeing on the Assiniboine River. That night I dream of him ringing the doorbell, and when I open our front door, he is there, dripping wet. He is laughing, says, I was just playing a trick on everyone. The next day, they drag the river. My dad is there when they find him, tangled in the woody debris that has accumulated at the bottom of the river. Since his birth, when I was 2, he has been my closest friend. When little, we played house. We wanted to marry one another. He pretended to come home from work, opening the bedroom door, going, honey, I'm home. Now he is never coming home. The Assiniboine Park gates are closed, but it is easy to go around them. I have done it many times late at night, whenever the river called to me. Now this river, the one where I shared my first kiss with my high school sweetheart, has betrayed me. I feel the need to confront it. Drunk and alone in the middle of the night during flood season, I make my way to the edge of the rushing water, shouting, why? Why? Why take my brother? The fast-moving water drowns out my voice as I slide in the mud, moving even closer to the turbulence that is water. I am in danger, but I do not care. I am contemplating letting the river take me. I want to join my sweet brother. So there is so much about loss in this particular book, and I realized as I was, not till it was finished, that I really was contemplating survivor's guilt, and that it had been dogging me, just nipping at my heels my whole life, and I was not even aware that it was there. So it was hard to feel that I could have a good life, that I was deserving of a good life. And it wasn't until we took care of my nephew Jamie that I understood the difference between the way my brothers had passed away, 2 of them died in their teens, and then my mother when I was 31, that their deaths weren't clean deaths. I've come to call them not clean deaths. So a clean death was something like what happened with my nephew Jamie, which I write about as well. And with a clean death, it was, we were very present for the whole experience, well supported with my brothers and my mother. I didn't know the teachings, the indigenous teachings. I didn't know many, many things about grief and loss, and felt quite alone. But with Jamie, I had more information. I had been studying these things. And Jamie was very dear to me, my nephew that we raised after his parents had passed away. And he, sadly, had cancer in his mid-20s, and it was aggressive and rare. So again, the epigraph for his is called Blended, a family constructed, then deconstructed. And it also has a quote from Stephen Levine, Unattended Sorrow, Recovering from Loss and Reviving the Heart, a book I've turned to many times. It is said that in every loss, there is an opportunity to uncover and heal the losses of a lifetime. That quote really struck me because I felt with Jamie's passing, we really did get the opportunity to heal. I did get the opportunity to heal many things. So I'll read a little excerpt about Jamie. The first time I meet Jamie, he has come to visit his mom at the Vancouver General Hospital. He gets off the plane, a string bean of a boy with long, greasy red hair he has cut himself. He has no bags and is wearing dirty clothes. Even so, I can see he is a handsome lad. He is just 6 months older than my son. They are nothing alike. Jamie is a gamer, a Dungeons and Dragons master, and Jesse is a skateboarding, pot-smoking teen. Jamie is alone for months up north. We communicate regularly on MSN. His mother is not going to recover. A will is drawn up, and Gary and I are named as backup guardians. So we took Jamie in, and then before we knew it, he was in our home dying. So we did palliative care for 2 months. So first we raised him, he went out into the world, had an amazing life, and then sadly he contracted a very rare and aggressive form of cancer. So I will read you a poem from that chapter. Dear nephew, a raven flew into your bird-cage chest, having grown silently large. It pressed against esophagus, crushing vocal cords. Insistent, it pushed your heart, unrelenting, in the crowding of a lung that no one can find. My sweet boy, you are death's companion. First your father and his lungs, then your mother and your old life, now you. I think of all the years you meant to live, the way you held us in hope and said you were 100% committed to staying. I knew it would take more than we had, that your body would become the scene of a crime where we would find ourselves unwilling witnesses with paperwork on our fridge. Do not resuscitate in bold letters. We became accomplices in a reality that said there was no one to call. One where the sunflowers have the face of your friend, and a woman wearing a purple coat, a leopard tam, sits reading a newspaper. You said she never speaks, her interruptions heard as pages turning. Even so, it was hard for you to follow TV shows. You wanted a storyboard, a map of the merging so you could follow along. In this liminal space we share, I sit in a chair beside you, thinking I should get up, sort that bookcase. But tired from trail of care, I pass thought to you, and you say you see me in the corner. When I ask what I am doing, you say looking at the bookcase. You said that I was always looking at the bookcase. Perhaps I was longing for another ending. Now even the unfinished box of Raisin Bran leads me back to you. Your breadcrumb trail of things, cell phones, laptops, artwork, lamps, what to do with wallets, their contents worn, all things we must find something to do with, when what we really want is you. We are left with questions, so ask, did we do enough? The response is always the same. I hear the raven flutter his wings. He has you now, and he wants you to fly. So this book is a mix of poetry and prose. Some call it lyric prose. I'm not sure it's that lyrical. And I'm just looking for my next reading. I'm going to read from the chapter called Belonging, Breaking the Curse. It begins with a quote from Richard Wagamis. It says, there are spirit voices talking, weaving threads of disparate stories into one great oral tapestry of talk that will outlast us all. The story of a place called Kanata that has come to mean our home. He who welcomed me, an Ojibwe artist I met in AA, keeps telling me that I belong, and not just in AA. He hands me a copy of Richard Wagamis's Keeper in Me. He tells me I will see myself in many of the pages. I do. He who welcomed me lives in native housing. My son Jesse and I visit him often, and whenever we drop by, he shares teachings with us as he carves or paints. If painting, he shows us how he practices over and over to get those very fine lines, most with gentle curves. He tells us he is experimenting with traditional West Coast red and black, but bringing in the softer Ojibwe ways. Tellus has commissioned a piece from him, and at my 1-year cake, he gifts me with one of the prints, 20 of 80. It still hangs in my living room, a reminder of all we learned from he who welcomed me. Sobriety second time round is even harder than the first. And I'll leave there. I think that that's almost 20 minutes, and I thought that would take a long time, but actually it's been a short time. I want to thank you for your time and for your attention, and send you all healing thoughts and my prayers. Thank you.
Is Ivan Drury, who is a writer, an editor, and an activist, and he has also published his debut collection of poetry entitled Un with Talon Books. He's an editor and writer at Volcano newspaper, first established in Vancouver's downtown east side as the Downtown East. Ivan was a founding member of Red Braid Alliance for Decolonial Socialism. Hell yeah. He has been active defending low-income and unhoused communities in the Whalley neighborhood of Surrey for 5 years, and he is proud to be reading with Surrey Muse. Ivan has a master's degree in history from Simon Fraser University and teaches history and labor studies to international students. Please welcome, everybody, Ivan Drury.
Hello. I acknowledge that I am recording this video on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations, whose territories are occupied by the settler colonial nation-state of Canada. I want to thank Surrey Muse and Fauzia Rafiq in particular for inviting me to read, and I also want to thank Cecily Nicholson for connecting me to Fauzia, making this opportunity possible. I'm grateful to read for Surrey Muse because I have been invested in the political and social struggle to assert Surrey as a counter center to the in the region of Vancouver, since getting involved in class struggle organizing in Surrey, Burnaby, Maple Ridge, and other parts of the suburbs since about 2014. Around that time, myself and others who I was organizing with noticed that the working class had been largely displaced out of the city of Vancouver by gentrification, and that there was a big struggle to take up in the suburbs and the surrounding area. Part of that is to rebuild and foster a working class culture, especially in Surrey. I think that's a critical part of struggle overall, and I'm honored to be able to contribute to Surrey Muse's long-standing foundational efforts at fostering such a vibrant, independent arts culture in Surrey. So I'm planning to read poems from my new book, which was published this spring by Talon Books. And I'll be showing some videos and photo clips as part of this video to make what I hope is a good poetry reading video form. Enter the municipality of Blacksite, a nuclear weapon-free zone. The industrial center could not hold. From the deck of a freighter on a sea without swell, Stanley Park is a hippie crown, perched on a financial forehead of glass. The bourgeoisie, too, recycles. The mayoral candidates all wear "Homes Now" buttons, all engage earnestly on the side of the debate to ban plastic shopping bags. I learned how to ride a bicycle on a street with chest-deep ditches that froze in the winter, to skate, socks pulled over pant legs. First learned the way to a friend's house 2 doors down, then school, then home became a place. Day birthed beginning and end, and I became another, and learned to specify my and not my mother. Dried blood mistaken for rust. Bagram does not buck its back, but shifts groaning like an iceberg or an ant colony behind glass. A hive of basements burrow from cement stairwells, drills into sleep space. Charles Grainer picks a hair from his wet tongue absently with his wire-rimmed glasses, ridiculous mustache, peaked hat, absurd like a cliché World War II Nazi. Jeremy Sivitz testified that he watched Grainer punch a hooded prisoner unconscious. History too erects signposts. 80 years from Siberia, to become it a place different. A Solzhenitsynist, Tolkienite, cloud world, never from we here. Bagram does not disappear. Guantanamo does not torture. No distance, no sign. Where I grew up, we were all middle class, and everybody was white at the time. Where I grew up, families fell normally apart. Drugs were not hard drugs. Violence was not stranger violence. Where I grew up, we named only those who were not where I grew up. Our own bodies went unseen. I was trained in don't see color, packed between the studs of our failed bourgeois family structure and sealed with the drywall we painted with our fear. Distance was insulation. There is no sign that says, "You are now entering the municipality of Blacksite." The unspoken is the rule, the unnaming of names, the undrawing of maps. A junk train moving slow through the plateau desert, passengers burrowed like ticks on the back of an iron dragon, scales of rust or dried blood, t-shirts wrapped around our heads against the sand sprayed by the rest of the world. Until names, ascribe things, drift into the spaces between characters until spaces swallow, maps until mouths swallow speech. I saw the ghost of Bukharin again last night, scratching philosophy into his cell wall. We, W-E, is vacuum. They, T-H-E-Y, is un. Dead, D-E-A-D, might be, at least, L-E-A-S-T, some proof. The body without un. The body is crap worked into the form of a man, a giant. The body is a man who has a paper banner in the shape of a woman he parades around Afghanistan. The hands of the giant are too large for the body of the giant. The hands are leathered by war from strangling the land because the giant is not of the land. The hands of the giant are memory, tanned by creosote, creased by stretching, iron rails over ties, pocked by track mark stitches. The giant's neck is a pedestal where the universities perch millions of minds. The body is a violent idea made powerful by exclusion. Here, every negation is a membrane over the rotten hull. A deportation is caulking for the gap between missing boards. Head taxes tar the starboard. The giant's tonsils hang like flypaper, dreams scream caught in the throat of the nation. Worker spiders harvest what catches there, to edit and string code as glass beads. Dead labor precludes dead soldiers. Lateral social division, the vertical consumption of exchange value. A soldier rides the precision-guided missile from a robot flying through the bright Libyan sky into a pixel flash on the lime-green screen from a trailer in the Vegas desert. A triumph of dead labor over the living, a fossil with a gun, a dried husk, a hard-tack grave, an imprint with a clip, a remote drone. The body is dead labor with a gun. Or memory. In 50 years the tiles fade, the passage ways, the porcelain arch, the crease set in your face, mama, as by iron and board. Beneath bronze rust's metal pours the cracks the rains cry in. Rust motion is measured in mineral decay. Or osmosis is memory, falling or creeping out. Must Derrick dock, Derrick dock. We too lionize only lions. The Taino, revolutionary Cubans set in bronze, in a swamp, in an alligator farm. Our hearts are alternators, a real pain to change, the belt too tight. Press the tip of this pocket knife into the leather, turn it around, around, around. Beneath bronze flows not blood, but rust. Its motion measured in geologic time. We are, through historical osmosis. The maps do not make us, and we do not make the maps. I are, or am not. We am, or never will be.
These aren't killer robots. They're not like unfeeling people behind this whole thing. There are some people that are extremely scary when talking to them. And there was one individual who got the word infidel tattooed in Arabic on his side, and he had hellfire tattoos marking every shot.
Geologies of burning from the sky and center. But north is no north. The sphere is skewed. Polarity has relaxed and tensed, and will relax and tense again in geologic time. I am held and hair smoothed by this science, like laying in snow beneath Hello. I acknowledge that I am recording this video on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations, whose territories are occupied by the settler colonial nation-state of Canada. I want to thank Surrey Muse and Fauzia Rafiq in particular for inviting me to read, and I also want to thank Cecily Nicholson for connecting me to Fauzia, making this opportunity possible. I'm grateful to read for Surrey Muse because I have been invested in the political and social struggle to assert Surrey as a counter center to the in the region of Vancouver since getting involved in class struggle organizing in Surrey, Burnaby, Maple Ridge, and other parts of the suburbs since about 2014. Around that time, myself and others who I was organizing with noticed that the working class had been largely displaced out of the city of Vancouver by gentrification, and that there was a big struggle to take up in the suburbs and the surrounding area. Part of that is to rebuild and foster a working class culture, especially in Surrey. I think that's a critical part of struggle overall, and I'm honored to be able to contribute to Surrey Muse's long-standing foundational efforts at fostering such a vibrant, independent arts culture in Surrey. So I'm planning to read poems from my new book, which was published this spring by Talon Books. And I'll be showing some videos and photo clips as part of this video to make what I hope is a good poetry reading video form. Enter the municipality of Blacksite, a nuclear weapon-free zone. The industrial center could not hold. From the deck of a freighter on a sea without swell, Stanley Park is a hippie crown, perched on a financial forehead of glass. The bourgeoisie, too, recycles. The mayoral candidates all wear "Homes Now" buttons, all engage earnestly on the side of the debate to ban plastic shopping bags. I learned how to ride a bicycle on a street with chest-deep ditches that froze in the winter, to skate, socks pulled over pant legs. First learned the way to a friend's house 2 doors down, then school, then home became a place. Day birthed beginning and end, and I became another, and learned to specify my and not my mother. Dried blood mistaken for rust. Bagram does not buck its back, but shifts groaning like an iceberg or an ant colony behind glass. A hive of basements burrow from cement stairwells, drills into sleep space. Charles Grainer picks a hair from his wet tongue absently with his wire-rimmed glasses, ridiculous mustache, peaked hat, absurd like a cliché World War II Nazi. Jeremy Sivitz testified that he watched Grainer punch a hooded prisoner unconscious. History too erects signposts. 80 years from Siberia, to become it a place different. A Solzhenitsynist, Tolkienite, cloud world, never from we here. Bagram does not disappear. Guantanamo does not torture. No distance, no sign. Where I grew up, we were all middle class, and everybody was white at the time. Where I grew up, families fell normally apart. Drugs were not hard drugs. Violence was not stranger violence. Where I grew up, we named only those who were not where I grew up. Our own bodies went unseen. I was trained in don't see color, packed between the studs of our failed bourgeois family structure and sealed with the drywall we painted with our fear. Distance was insulation. There is no sign that says, "You are now entering the municipality of Blacksite." The unspoken is the rule, the unnaming of names, the undrawing of maps. A junk train moving slow through the plateau desert, passengers burrowed like ticks on the back of an iron dragon, scales of rust or dried blood, t-shirts wrapped around our heads against the sand sprayed by the rest of the world. Until names, ascribe things, drift into the spaces between characters until spaces swallow, maps until mouths swallow speech. I saw the ghost of Bukharin again last night, scratching philosophy into his cell wall. We, W-E, is vacuum. They, T-H-E-Y, is un. Dead, D-E-A-D, might be, at least, L-E-A-S-T, some proof. The body without un. The body is crap worked into the form of a man, a giant. The body is a man who has a paper banner in the shape of a woman he parades around Afghanistan. The hands of the giant are too large for the body of the giant. The hands are leathered by war from strangling the land because the giant is not of the land. The hands of the giant are memory, tanned by creosote, creased by stretching, iron rails over ties, pocked by track mark stitches. The giant's neck is a pedestal where the universities perch millions of minds. The body is a violent idea made powerful by exclusion. Here, every negation is a membrane over the rotten hull. A deportation is caulking for the gap between missing boards. Head taxes tar the starboard. The giant's tonsils hang like flypaper, dreams scream caught in the throat of the nation. Worker spiders harvest what catches there, to edit and string code as glass beads. Dead labor precludes dead soldiers. Lateral social division, the vertical consumption of exchange value. A soldier rides the precision-guided missile from a robot flying through the bright Libyan sky into a pixel flash on the lime-green screen from a trailer in the Vegas desert. A triumph of dead labor over the living, a fossil with a gun, a dried husk, a hard-tack grave, an imprint with a clip, a remote drone. The body is dead labor with a gun. Or memory. In 50 years the tiles fade, the passage ways, the porcelain arch, the crease set in your face, mama, as by iron and board. Beneath bronze rust's metal pours the cracks the rains cry in. Rust motion is measured in mineral decay, or osmosis is memory, falling or creeping out. Must Derrick dock, Derrick dock. We too lionize only lions. The Taino, revolutionary Cubans set in bronze, in a swamp, in an alligator farm. Our hearts are alternators, a real pain to change, the belt too tight. Press the tip of this pocket knife into the leather, turn it around, around, around. Beneath bronze flows not blood but rust, its motion measured in geologic time. We are, through historical osmosis. The maps do not make us, and we do not make the maps. I are or am not. We am or never will be.
These aren't killer robots. They're not like unfeeling people behind this whole thing. There are some people that are extremely scary when talking to them, and there was one individual who got the word infidel tattooed in Arabic on his side, and he had hellfire tattoos marking every shot.
Geologies of burning from the sky and center. But north is no north. The sphere is skewed. Polarity has relaxed and tensed, and will relax and tense again in geologic time. I am held and hair smoothed by this science, like laying in snow beneath competing specters, dancing thick and translucent before my eyes. The sun afield over the water, and the few islands. The world keeps no foreign sky. Dust descends, partisans in the war against glass, merged of dust. What forms the foundations of glinting glass, graveyards of the migrant, but dust? Deep below the dense tenements of dust, it boils, red pure like surface cannot know. This is essence too. Who speaks of foreign soil and its products is entombed in their shoes, condemned to forever finger words into breath on glass, the depths beyond the particles of dust, the indistinguishable glass, reflecting back the dead soul. The window shows the face that peers towards the light eater. Che Guevara in his Dar es Salaam hotel room after withdrawing from the Congo Revolution. This is dedicated to my comrades with eternal determination. After his retreat out of the Congo front, Che Guevara sequestered himself in a hotel room in Dar es Salaam and wrote a critique of the war that began. This is a story of failure. The sun went down behind the blackout blind. Che had been drinking and sleeping. He was trying to read the section on capital, on machines and factory laws. His eye was drawn to Marx's poetic and pessimistic passages. He read over and over a pamphlet on chess strategy. Che had left his family in Havana saying, "If my children need shoes, the revolution will provide shoes or it will not." And I left behind a happy home, if you can call the house of a revolutionary who was dedicated to his work a home, and a lot of kids who were barely aware of my love. He left his post with the revolutionary government after his debate with Alberto Mora on the Soviet mechanism of material levers and value production, saying, The blunt tools of capitalism will not make the socialist soul. When things were bad in the battle against the Portuguese-backed forces, some of the Cuban volunteers reminded each other that Che had left his comfortable home and important position behind to eat unsalted corn cakes with them in the endless rain. Che asked the curtain pulled over his darkened window, "Who am I now? I feel alone in a way I never felt in Cuba, nor in any of my wanderings around the globe. Never have I felt myself so alone as I do today." The curtain did not answer. He felt that the African Revolution had not failed, but I had not been equal to my responsibilities. As we rested on a hillside, I reflected that there were 13 of us, one more than Fidel had at a certain moment in the Sierra Maestra Mountains, but that I was not the same leader he was. Let it rain, ragged and indiscreet. The end of the end once the going stops. When discretion, the falling up shall fall over the top of under gutter, in dead leaves over dead water, still stale, stubborn, the undertow of gravity in the tumbling, drops of ragged, torn rain. We are revolutionary internationalists. No sky is foreign to us, and no rain hostile. All people are our people. Nothing human is alien. No air is acrid, and no wind unwelcome. But what when the earth heaves against us, and our eager feet find no purchase? What when? Che slept and dreamed of the salt air that mists off the wave breaks on sub-trench mid-ocean. It was the Cayman Trough, separating the Mexican coast from Cuba. He had a living memory wake him from that dream of the thick humidity of the swamp that swallowed the blood of his comrades, the air so wet his skin felt like a tongue tasting the verdant living world that grumbled with hunger to consume him. When he woke, he left for Bolivia, where he found his death. The feeling that all is lost is always true. The conviction that victory is inevitable is correct. Lights, walls, metropoles. The apocalypse cometh. The blanket kills. The revolution revolts. And all that is uttered drifts. The Abu Ghraib torturers have served their sentences. The Union of Canadian Correctional Officers proletarianizes. Under such global force winds, even steel evaporates. The vacuum howls. The tower mourns. Bittersweet the song of separation. How well we speak. Je me souviens Rambo 3, the heroic mujahideen. Hunger strikes for a pair of shoes, a better blanket, visitation rights, medication, recognition, a pair of shoes, a better blanket, visitation rights, medication, recognition. There can be no question of political status for someone who is serving a sentence for crime. Crime is crime is crime is crime. Shit is to Sands as suicide is to Un. There is no jurisprudence without crime. There is warfare and asymmetrical warfare. Dear detainee number 940, do you remember buttery skin under your palm? Do you wake up sick and stay in bed? Do you dream of highways or sores on your skin? Do you lust? Despite the glass at the corner, at the crook of the concrete ceiling and concrete walls and the wire-cluttered window at the door, Do you look at clocks? Are there clocks anywhere? Are there clocks everywhere? Do you brush your teeth and floss? Do you feel like watching TV is a waste of time? Are there TVs anywhere? Are there TVs everywhere? Beneath such a hood, what memories, what projections, lights, walls, metropoles. Is it too loud at night? Is it too quiet in the day? The triumph of form over content, of medium over message, is Rage Against the Machine echoing loud in a cement cell. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Constant dark and constant light and constant noise and constant hum, occasional footfall and hinges creak. Behold, our dream cometh, without flag, without law, without nation state, a long intestine spilling out of hand. Behold, the black site, a land where is and cannot be. Close my eyes, leave our lights on. I like the fleshy glow at the end of long days under fluorescence. The lights will not leave my eyes. Light worms move against sleep, loose fibers of the day. Blankets kill. Day covers night. What spots of light, remembered, projected, beneath these hoods. Behold, a land where is. So that's it. Thank you for inviting me again, Surrey Muse, for this reading, and for everybody who watches this video I've made. Thank you.
It is a distinct honor for me to be in a position to invite my dear friend and brother Bobby Musgrave to the Surrey Muse tonight as our featured performer. I'll read his bio in just a second, but I just want to say that I've known Bobby for since 2011, so for about 11 years. That's a long time. We were just children when we met, me and this guy, and I got old in that time. But I've been close friends with Bobby for many, many years, and can't imagine how I would have even gotten through life so far without his friendship. So it's really an honor to be able to introduce him at this time. I know Bobby from back in our Santa Barbara days, and we've done some music together in the past, but that's not here or there this evening. Instead, this is Bobby's opportunity to just do his thing. Bobby's been increasingly getting his word out there and doing his music in Portland, so look for him to be blowing up real soon, taking over this here Pacific Northwest, so-called. All right, Bobby Musgrave is a musician, a singer, a songwriter, a rapper, a teacher, a tutor, a chauffeur, and producer based out of Portland, Oregon. He began songwriting around age 16 as a high school student in Texas, composing primarily for electric bass and voice. In addition to being a chauffeur, he's a chauffeur getting you to your death. That's what I meant to say. During his college years, he started to explore electronic music production, and at age 23, finally began writing for acoustic guitar and voice. His most recent album is an experimental electronic collection called Metaphysical Mustard, released under the stage name Bat Faith Bullshit. Bobby's music has been published on Spotify, Tidal, YouTube, Bandcamp, Deezer, Apple Music, and every other corporate and other clandestine format that one could possibly imagine. Yeah, that's right. Please welcome everybody, Bobby Musgrave.
How to be. Seems you've been waiting for far too long. A creature comfort, a lick of wine. Getting on. Your prescription, I insist, is my recourse. Well, it's just so hard to leave myself alone. I'm about to tell me how to be. Oh, would you please? Oh, how to be. A pleasure pasta, a stack of holes. Your splattered bit of patterns mucking up my gold. Police state where you're running from, where you're running from, where you're running from. Collecting claps, it's a trap. Hacking barber strikes, blue-handed, footloose, wibble, glimpse of Flintstone. How to be, who knows, not me. Oh, how to be. I forgot I was someone that happens a lot. Trying to do what I've undone, regrow what I've tried to see clouds, so schemes with how to be, get loose, get free. Oh, how to be. Keep your street. Pent up aggression, you're spending your time addressing. Less is more, a second amendment. Caressing your Smith and Wesson. Set of scores, that blood of wine that you're drinking. Know exactly what I'm thinking. Your attention is still suspended still. Unblinking, smooth the edges. Some credit to the Ferris rule. You've been authentically, mentally stabilized. In life, looking for one to do for 2 and 3. What do you say? Or how to be the gust breeze? How to be. Yeah. This is called What's That Sound? Lose your mind, waste your time, spend your bottom dollar. Ask what class is that ass, which color. You say you're coming around, I'm like, don't even bother. Feeling past on the porch, need me a drink of water. Tickle in my throat, won't spill your secrets out for now. The tinder box we lit might burn this whole place to the ground. What's that sound? What's that sound? What's that sound? What's that sound? Find your way, take your place, make your empty promise. Melt your face, set your pace, use too many commas. I think I know what you mean, I think I'm being honest. I think what you think they're thinking on us. The raging fire, so subtle in its sounds. The tinderbox will, it might burn this whole place to the ground. Burn it all, burn it all down, burn it down, burn it all down, burn it all, burn it all down, burn it down, burn it all down, burn it all, burn it all down, burn it down, burn it all down, burn it all, burn it all down, burn it down, burn it all down, burn it down. What's that sound? What's that sound? What's that sound? What's that sound? It ain't a walk in the park, ain't got a handle on it. I think you're missing the mark, you think you're landing on it. Your head is lost in the stars, I'm riding on a comet. We think we know who we are, some kind of cosmic vomit. End of the line, the sirens echo out. The tinderbox will, it might burn this whole place to the ground. What's that sound? What's that sound? What's that sound? What's that sound? Wetter water. Guess they just did it for laughs. Weight off my chest, I can't spin this kindly. Pick up the pieces of air. Who's warning, flaring, whose glare you're minding. Can't wait, don't stare. Tearing apart ain't the same road winding. Another fork in the butter. Another spoonful of glucose binding. You make a cute pair. You make it work even better, yeah. Like it ain't even fair. This water could be wetter. You're not walking alone. Give a dog a bone. Paddywhack. Distract them and sneak through the back. Wait. Stay. Is your mark on the park bench? I can't say. Hold tight. If they repeatedly stab you, don't walk towards the light. C'est mémé, c'est maman, yeah. C'est mémé, c'est maman, yeah. Face disforging forever. Hammer and anvil, I hear bones grinding. Balance the edge that you bevel. Feet in the stirrups, but still not riding. in disrepair. Pretend to polish, but spit's not shining. Can't lose, don't care. Nothing to prove, nothing too confining. I thought for sure you were dead. Guess I'm not quite on your level. How many lives do you get? How many deals with the devil? You're not talking to me. You're not listening at all. Matter of fact, remind us what they just said last. Not that it really matters, not that we really care. The glass is already shattered. Your ass is already bare. Thank you. I'm Seminu Mamanumena. Test of patience, face of stone. Damn that snake hair, I should've known. Mind your business on your own. Show me your way out. Lead me home around. About, hear the sights, see the sounds. Did I get that wrong, Mr. By hounding the clown knows its nose isn't brown. Red and right, did I read that right? I'm a Seminu Mamanumena. I'm a Seminu Mamanumena. Go on the way here. I saw a ghost, faint and faceless. It never spoke, stared right in my eyes, and burned a hole deep inside my mind, so it could store some nights. Didn't see that coming, but that's just how it goes. I mean, what's with all these dead squirrels, boys and girls? That punk chipmunk keeps giggling, signaling through the smoke. I'm a Seminu Mamanumena. I'm a Seminu Mamanumena. I'm a Seminu Mamanumena. Go on, streaming and scheming, believing in lies all the time. I'm a man speaking silence. My paper is weightless, abiding my rhymes. We're all gonna die. Get it right, kids. Ain't no reason, the seasons just change. Stranger things, bringing peace, bringing pain. All the same, all the same, all the same. I'm a Seminu Mamanumena. I'm a Seminu Mamanumena. I'm a Seminu Mamanumena. Go on. Who's got the sand? Favorite pair, light leaves a stain that you smother and spread, that you cover instead of cleaning. Falling off the edge, becoming gone. Price of bread, the type of blood you'd like to bleed. Do whatever you want, whenever you need. Have a chance, plan. Who's got the time? Who's got the sand? Follow the signs, tighten your straps before you crash. Is it true? Are you sure? It's never gonna go away. That's what they say. That's what I heard. There's no end. That's the ending. Don't shoot the messenger. Point in case. Hope you enjoy. You're going out of your way to make your point state your case. I'm still not buying it. Hush up and listen, your face just won't stop moving, so hey, it might be worth trying it. You wanna beat it to death, you're wicked getting the rest, there's no denying it. Your longest shortness of breath, that lightness, tightness, your chest, you're still abiding it. Before the aftermath can show its face, your head's scalding science sense. The message lost in my defense. The message clear, we're on the fence. Here. You're standing out from the swarm, the formlessness of your form. Look how profound it is. My point in case the unborn, how many shits given more than those around you kids? Spray DNA on the floor, masturbatorium doors, that's all my sounds is. Capitulating for four, keep stupid simple discord discounted, which, before the aftermath can show its face, your head's scalding science sense. Message lost in my defense. The message clear, we're on the fence. Here. I got my point in case. Your glass, your shattered vase needs some explaining. I'm sure it does. Wasting time in a haze. I got miles, I got days. If you need something, give me a buzz. It's all over your face. I'm not sure that it's safe. You should probably wipe that stuff off your hedge labyrinth, your maze. Freezing cold, getting chased, sick and tired of that minotaur. Before the aftermath can show its face, your head's scalding science sense. Message lost in my defense. Message clear, we're on the fence. Here.
To open up our open mic tonight, I must say that it's with distinct pleasure and a distinct honor that I introduce Mariam Zohra D. Mariam is the heart and soul of the Surrey Muse, tirelessly creating these beautiful videographic productions that we enchant you with on a monthly basis. She is our DJ, she is our remixer, she is our maestro. Just the MC, Mariam is the maestro. A multidisciplinary artist of Kashmiri and Punjabi descent, Mariam, aka Mur, is a poet, vocalist, and an experimental creator combining poetry, voice, and visual arts. Exactly. I was just telling you that, right? In 2016, she began Tarka, a multimedia collaboration project. She has just released Waterprint by Mercury with Enigma Curry. Her early independent albums were created with musicians Agitation and Astarte 23 and Dub Therapy. In 2018, Omega Project released Rock Bottom with Darius Yanikowski, while Lullabies for Insomniacs put out a limited vinyl, and The Light Beams Will Guide the Way by Dreamspeak. That's the name of the vinyl, and The Light Beams Will Guide the Way. Along with poems published in various literary collections and in a textbook for high school students. Damn, Mariam is changing the world through the next generation. In addition to that, Mariam's first collection of poetry, Not to Understand, was published in 1994. She joined Theater in the Rough, a youth advocacy group, in 1998 and co-founded Surrey Muse in 2011. And by 2016, in combination with launching Purple Poppy Press, a digital publisher, she published a second collection of poems with lyrics and drawings titled These Tales Are True. Mariam studied philosophy and creative writing at Douglas College, aka Kakayat College, aka Quequetlam College, aka Douglas College, and she is the media producer and art director of Surrey Muse Art Society. One love, big ups, crazy shout out, hella love to Mariam Zohra D, aka Mur, holding it down, bringing us home in the open mic tonight. Thank you.
to say that I lost everything. I can't wait to hear what you say. On ears, I can't wait to hear what you say. There's trouble in the air. I can't wait to hear what you say. But I'm strong now. Hey.
Yes, I'm an introvert. Then what? You think I'm obsolete, not compatible with the modern era? So what? I know what people think of me. Don't embellish it, please. I know how to charge my barrages out of exhausted and complex systems. Don't worry. People say you are antisocial. No, it's nothing like that. We introverts are reserved by nature. We know how to communicate well with ourselves, but not socially. We know how deeply our soul is connected to us, the one who idolizes without being judgmental. We know our worth and believe in the point of a theory without possessing any superficial trait. We don't mix and match easily due to the nucleus bounded within us. Sometimes we need to hide away from the hustle and bustle of an atmosphere where things are not in control for us. We are shy to reach out to people, but we and our soul are truly best friends whose roots are thick for long runs. We claim for having nature and peace within utmost silence and self isolation, giving ourselves some time far alone from this noisy world. We mind our own business, having none of the concerns with the outer world. This is what self belief and admiration are. I hope you understand our feelings of being an introvert and know how we exist. Things would have been on the next level if you all admire your true qualities hidden inside instead of acquiring superficial. Thank you.